Hello, everyone. My name is Tiffany Horton, and I am a third of the group of Part 10, along with Jocelyn Sam and Elizabeth Florido. Please bear with us as we try our very best to explain cultural globalization. Okay, so here we go. According to the book author Manfred B. Steger, cultural globalization is the intensification and expansion of cultural flows and traditions across the globe. Cultural globalization can expand into one's language, music, and images, which constitute the major forms of symbolic expression and assume special significance in the sphere of culture. My own interpretation of the phenomenon is the ability to study one's culture to find out what takes place in one's daily life, occasion, or ritual. So when I say life is connected to the day-to-day things each culture does. When I say occasion, that will be connected to the celebration each culture decides to celebrate. And lastly, rituals would be connected to the spiritual things that each culture connects to. Moving right along to our identified issue. The identified issue leads to the question, as globalization spreads around the world, do you think that it's connecting people in their cultures or dividing people in their cultures? I feel that cultural globalization is mostly dividing us apart because cultures may only be able to be viewed or read about through different media sources and they aren't tangible to everyone. Therefore, cultures aren't able to struggle together. If cultures are able to struggle together, it creates a form of survival mode where cultures come together to survive, but slowly go back to identifying with their cultures as the tension of struggle returns back to normal, to the normal day-to-day process. Okay, and then we're going to move right along to the background, just giving you a little bit about cultural globalization and being able to explain it to you. Give a little bit of the history on it. Cultural globalization began when most historians began to think of globalization. The world began to grow and expand with people of different places trading, traveling, and migrating to different parts of the world. The process of trading and relocation brought about cultural globalization because people were taking their cultures with them wherever they migrated to. An example of this would be the triangle trade. And the triangle trade was within the Americans, the Africans, and the English culture. During the triangle trade, there was the exchange of goods from colony to colony and even the trade of slaves. So this was years ago. So we're talking years ago, as history has formed itself to get us to where we are today. Lastly, I think that the creative solution for the issue would be just really grasping your own understanding of the concept of globalization, which can be simplified um, by the merging of the world's cultures in the form of food, entertainment, and language, etc. So anything that can bring us together, anything that can connect the cultures as one. Cultural globalization is what sets us apart and gives definition to the meaning of each culture. It gives us our own cultural identity. While it is often easy to pick what you are familiar or somewhat familiar with in a setting, such as an international food market, I think that we need to change the way we approach cultural globalization in the sense that instead of focusing on the the preferences of those who are experiencing different cultures, we need to approach it in a similar way, the similar way that we approach tourism in different cultures. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that the practices of cultural globalization should be changed so that the authentic aspects of each culture can be reserved regardless of other factors that may affect its authenticity. So one more time, the the practices of overall the practices of cultural globalization should be changed so that the authentic aspects of each culture can be preserved regardless of other factors that may affect its authenticity. And that's it, the end. There's no other way to say it. Let's try to continue to think about cultural globalization as we move about our daily lives, because it's a never-ending thing. It's continuing to change the world, and I feel like we ourselves, we're a part of it. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys grasp our concept of cultural globalization and how it's dividing, in my opinion, how it's dividing the world today. Okay, have a good one. Bye-bye.